Good. Mac, can you turn off voice on the stream temporarily?
It's probably wise to double check that we're both in sync.
tell us when voice. And welcome to Performance East Streaming. Round 4 at Sonoma of the ANZCAR Thunder Series for Xfinity cars. With me I have Carl Withy. How are you, Carl?
I'm good, thanks. You, Brett? Hello, everybody. I'm new to the channel and new to the area for commentating.
That's okay. I think that goes for all of us here, and we do apologise also for it not being through the Performance East Streaming YouTube channel, but we have it through Matt Hunter, who's kindly streaming it today.
Yeah, it makes it a big help actually being able to watch the races.
Absolutely, it's a bit hard when it's not covered. So no, thank you, Matt. And qualifying has started. We've got about 8.5 minutes to go. Currently out on track we have several cars, and in the early stages at the top is Dave Douglas. No, thank you, Matt. And
Okay, hopefully we'll catch up with those cars very shortly.
currently out on track we have several cars, and it'll be an interesting round actually, being a road course. Most of the courses are oval, of course, and expecting Hayden Dodman to do quite well here, and he's currently at the top of the leader standings as well, Carl. 2 points ahead of Jason Martin.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season so far. This is the first road course of the season, of course, isn't it? So it's going to bring a lot of problems to people. It's a much different environment, and Sonoma is a very unforgiving track as well.
Very much so, very much so. It's an interesting track. Some like it, some don't. It's got some interesting characteristics.
Who likes it? Come on, let's find that person.
Well, funnily enough, you've got a couple out there. You've got Chris Purnell. He's out there. He's expected to do quite well today. Matt Clute. He's also expected to do well, but again, I expect Hayden Dodman to do quite well too, because he seems to be pretty strong wherever he goes.
And that's going to be very good for the championship as well.
Well, it is. I mean, Jason Martin's won 2 rounds. Hayden won the first round at Charlotte, but Hayden's still leading by 2 points. So this it could be telling to see how well Jason goes, I guess.
Absolutely, it's going to be a pivotal part of the championship. Well, as all races can be, but if Hayden Dodman actually has a really good round and Jason doesn't quite get cooked in on this road course, it could be a big step in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking out now, seeing out who's out on track and doing their laps, and looks like most of them are out there at least on their first lap. It's going to be a bit hard to tell for a little while who's going to come out on top here, but yeah, it's who's got their car working well will be the question. Who's got their head around how to drive the track is also going to be the question. So,
absolutely, and qualifying is pivotal at a track like this. The problem with Sonoma is at the start, because it's such a narrow area with both concrete walls either side, there are often first lap issues, especially from the starting point. So being in the lead and actually being away from anybody that's going to crash into you is a big help.
Oh, absolutely, and a lot of these guys don't do a lot of road racing or road courses as such, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. It'll be interesting to see how lap traffic comes into it too a little bit later as well.
Absolutely. Sonoma is a very unforgiving track for lap traffic, basically, because, again, it's quite a narrow circuit, and when you go offline here, you can have real big problems, especially because of the bumps.
Oh, absolutely, and just looking here now in the timing sheets, Chris Purnell's right up there, as is Ashley Lear on top at the moment.
Seems like everybody's getting their timing in at the moment. Now, with Sonoma, one of the biggest obstacles is actually the undulation of the track. It really throws the cars off balance, especially through the about turns 2, 3, and 4. It can be a real problem and an absolute nightmare to drive.
Oh, Absolutely. And talking to some of the guys during the practice session earlier to this, and they were saying that the car really doesn't like the curbs either, and trying to keep the car off the curbs and keep it sort of stable is where they're trying to find the grip. They're short shifting a lot as well. Just anything at all to stop it from lighting up the rears, basically.
Absolutely, and that's another extremely important point for Sonoma, because it is a hard track on tyres. You've got to really look after the tyres, and if you do light up your rears, you're going to chew through them very quickly.
Yeah, you are. Hayden Dodman has just jumped to third. He's still out on track now.
Not a bad starting place.
Yeah, it looks like he might have just finished his lap. It's actually a little bit hard to follow the cars in qualifying, and as they're not all out together, it's a single screen qualifying, so trying to work out who's out and who's not is always a bit of a challenge.
Absolutely, it does make it a little bit trickier. It means we have to earn our money as well.
You get paid for this, do you?
I get paid in love from the people that are listening.
So at the moment, we have, looks like Ashley Lear, Chris Purnell, Hayden Dodman, Bruce Smith and Kyle Sloggett are the top 5 at present in qualifying.
Interestingly enough, if we go off the real world series, of course, from NASCAR Cup Series, there have been very few winners outside the top sort of 3 to 4 spots.
Yeah, and it could very well be the same here. It's just going to be a matter of who holds it together, I guess. The start will be interesting too, because they're big, heavy cars, cold tyres. With a whole pack of the Xfinity cars coming through in the first few turns, could be quite interesting. The other place to think about too is coming down onto the chute at the back of the track there. That's somewhere where people have a lot of problems.
Absolutely. It is a very hard part, especially on early laps when the car isn't up to temperature. Going through those fast left and right-handers is a real nightmare and can cause a lot of problems. The other problem as well is people think it could be a good overtaking spot sometimes, and it doesn't usually work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, if you get offline there and you go too far over that curb, you'll either unsettle the car, or that wall juts out just after the end of the curbing there on the left. So if you're not careful, it'll catch you out, and it's probably going to be a race-ending catch.
Yeah, that wall has caught many people out in the past. I expect it to catch at least one person out tonight.
Yep, you and me both. So head up through the S's after turn 1 there, turn 2, 3 and 4, as you said before. It's with that little elevation change up there, the car gets very light and wants to push out as you crest the elevation. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people handle it, especially in the first couple of laps.
Indeed. When people are fighting for position as well, this track is not a good track to go too wide into any of the corners. So you really have to take the better part of valor and actually sometimes just let the person through rather than fight them, because you're only going to end up in the wall somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's a 45 lap race too, so it's one of those races where I think patience might actually pay off here, and yeah, those that can look after their tyres, I think too, will be in the best position, to be honest.
Absolutely. Tyre wear is going to be a very important part of this race. If you can keep the tyres going longer, you can stop slightly less. You can save time in the pits as well, and that is a big help sometimes.
Yeah, and that brings strategy into it too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that's one of the harder parts for the drivers, because you've got to think of strategy while you're driving as well.
Absolutely. So it looks like pretty much everyone's done their laps. Our top 5, Ashley Lear has come out on top with a 1:17.09, closely followed by Chris Purnell on a 1:17.2, Hayden Dodman on a 1:17.3, very close there, and Bruce Smith on a 1:17.5. So they're gridding up now, and I think there'll be a few people out there just having to think about how they're going to take these first few laps and how they're going to deal with those around them, and whether they're familiar with those around them too, I guess, will be another story, won't it?
Absolutely. It's hard when you don't know the racer next to you. When you know somebody, if you know that they're going to brake slightly later, you can adjust your racing style for it. If it's an unknown driver, it can really unsettle you because you don't know how they're going to act.
Oh, absolutely. And look, a lot of these guys know each other. They've been racing together for quite a while. But there are obviously the new drivers come in each season, and it'll be interesting to see how they play it out.
Absolutely. And especially when you're coming in fresh to a season, sometimes you've not raced these cars on certain tracks. This could be the first time racing at Sonoma for some people, and that can be a real big challenge.
Oh, yeah, especially the guys that predominantly do oval racing. These road circuits can be quite a challenge.
Absolutely, but don't ever count out anyone from oval racing on a road circuit, because they can usually get the job done.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be a bit of a fool to count anybody out, to be honest. The survival factor here is going to be pretty high, isn't it? I think a lot of people will be playing strategy and survival. Look after your tyres.
Absolutely.
And keep the car clean too, because obviously, as soon as you damage your car, you'll be down on top speed and you'll be at the mercy of the following car.
Very much so.
Right, so as we line up here, another couple of seconds before they get going on the pace lap. Quite a warm track here at 29.5 degrees as well. Ambient's only 24, but still with all of these cars going around, it'll create for a bit of a warm track, I think, too. Another factor into the tyres.
Absolutely, and especially warmer conditions. Think about cooling, and you have to think about sort of keeping your tyres fresh too.
Yeah, absolutely. 3.2 kilometres of very difficult track and slippery track too.
And as you can see here, you can just see the elevation changes in this track. It's a very large sort of hill that these cars climb up to, and then they go back down it again into a very, very tight corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we were saying before, this leads them onto the chute. Off to the left there, just after that ripple strip, is the wall that comes out, and it's not really designed to let you have a glancing blow, is it?
No, absolutely not. You do want to get close to that wall though. That's one of the most important parts of this lap, is getting close to the wall but not touching it.
Yeah, it's one of the quickest parts of the circuit. Coming down here through the S's as well, that's another place too where I guess you've got to really be careful with the throttle and make sure that you're just not overdoing it. Just coast the car through almost.
Absolutely. Brakes are not that important here. It's more about throttle control.
Yeah, until you get down into the hairpin, of course, and them brakes mean everything. I think it's going to be one of the better passing zones, I think. Right, pace cars off the track, and we'll be away any moment.
And it's even now getting into the chicane, and we're coming around the final corner.
We have Ashley Lear on the inside, Chris Pennell on the outside.
And the cars are all forming up, ready to... And here we are, and everybody looks to be keeping clean.
Yeah, we have someone off there, over onto the dirt.
Yeah, can't quite see who that is, sadly. Was one of the leaders though.
Yeah, well, Ashley Lear's holding it well out front with Chris Pennell behind him now. And it'll be interesting.
We've got a good battle for third place coming up. Now Ashley Lear there in the lead is in the perfect spot you want to be on Sonoma, basically controlling the pace.
Yep, I'm just having a bit of a look through to see if we've lost anybody yet.
And Dodman is in third place. Again, this is important for his championship chances. And we're rounding the final turn, well, second to final turn, getting ready for a fresh lap for lap 2.
Yeah, Ashley seems to be trying to do a bit of a runner here. He's doing quite well. He's developed a bit of a gap back to Chris Pennell already.
Absolutely. If you can get that gap going, you want to get at least, if you can get about a 5-second gap, you're going to be in a very good position for this race. But it is extreme at that size. These cars are very, very close to performance. And actually, yeah, they're just having a bit wide actually into the...
down into the chute there?
Lost about half a second. Yeah, about half a second going through there.
Seems to have got it together now, and he seems to be re-establishing that gap back to Chris Purnell, who's got Hayden Dolman all over him coming down into the final turn.
Looks like Danson was the car that went off possibly at the start of the race. There's a lap down already. Car number 30.
Yeah, I tried to go back and find it, but obviously I want to watch keep the action focused on the front, but...
Absolutely.
So looks like we've got Bruce Smith there on the back of Hayden Dolman as well, which is making it an interesting little 3-car battle there for second, third and fourth.
Yeah, we've got a big battle developing here. Just one small mistake and you're going to lose so much time. Car number 11 there just hit the curve a little bit hard and just lost speed going down the hill, and you can just see what the impact it has. And they just make it through getting into the chute without having a crash there.
Hayden Dolman and Bruce Smith, yeah, it's getting heated, but it looks like Hayden's managed to put a gap through on Bruce now as a result of that.
Absolutely, I think they have a little bit too much bravery going into the chute there with the wall of death, as we would call it. Basically, they did really well there to not crash, but I think it did lose.
We're just watching Bruce Smith now, sitting there in third. And he has Cole Slogger right behind him as well. All these guys are regular campaigners up the front, and it's not really unexpected to see them here, to be honest. Sorry.
It does really help to get to know a car and just sort of knowing your environment as well. It does help to usually get you up the field a little bit more.
It does, and just having a bit of a look back through the field here to see where Jason Martin is. Obviously, he's battling for the championship with Hayden, and he's currently sitting back in 8th. So yeah, he's in the top 10. He's not in a bad position, but yeah, he's dropping back a little on the lead pack though.
All it will take is one caution, and it can just bring everybody back into contention here.
Oh, absolutely. It's not going to take much at all, is it? And look, from talking to a few of the guys before this, during practice, they noticed that the tyre wear wasn't such an issue over a run. It was more a case of the tyres were dropping off and coming back. So you had to put in a few fairly hard laps, and then you'd have to drop off again for a few laps just to let them cool off. They'd come back, and it was a constant cycle in and out.
And we've got a good battle here between car 54 and 21.
Yeah, Matt Clute and Jason Martin. Matt's another regular. He's well up in the championship at the moment. He's actually third in the championship currently. So we have an incident down here at the hairpin. That was Aaron Dillon having a spin down at the hairpin in the final turn.
And it does look like he caught Nicholas Walsh, car number 22, up in that. Slowed him down at least a fair bit.
Yeah, he did. He did well to avoid him, actually. I think he may have just tapped him. Looks to be a little bit of damage on the front left of...
Yeah, that definite damage on the front left of 22 Nicholas Walsh.
Yeah.
And it looks like number 13 is also having a lot of trouble. It looks like something is very wrong on that car at the moment.
Yeah, he's going very slow, isn't he?
I do wonder if they caught each other up in that accident there.
Could well have.
So I imagine they'll be heading to the pit lane. And car number 66 as well here, we're on.
Yep, but moving back to the front, there's an absolutely fierce battle right now going on between Hayden Dolman and Chris Purnell. At the moment, it's looking like Hayden might have a little bit more speed on Chris, and Chris is doing his best just to hold him off, but how long can he do that for is the question.
Some beautiful defensive driving there. Dolman had a great run up on him there.
So yeah, we might follow these guys for a few minutes because it seems to be where it's all happening, and Chris has got a brilliant braking ability going down into the hairpin, but coming off the hairpin back onto the main straights where Ashley seems to have the legs.
And you can absolutely get that in the car. Sometimes if you've got it set up a little bit differently, just getting that little bit of extra traction. You know, of course, sometimes you've got a car that's better braking and sometimes you've got a better car that's acceleration, and that can really make a difference in a fight. You really have to plan your attacks in that situation as well.
Oh, absolutely. And got some great in-car footage here from Hayden Dolman's point of view. Gives you a very, very, very good perspective on the elevation changes you were talking about earlier, Carl.
Absolutely. And you'll watch the gears here. Generally, you'll be keeping in probably around about third to second gear through most of this track, depending on what your setup is. Gear changing is not something you'll be doing every time, and it looks like Dolman's got a good run here again.
Yeah, he seems to be able to hold it quite well through the changes of direction too, doesn't he? It's the car doesn't seem to be pushing or losing the rear too much. Not a lot of steering input going into it, which is pretty good at this stage of the race already.
Absolutely, it looks like it's a good firm car at the moment.
It does, and well, we're only 7 laps into a 45-lap race too, remember? So a long way to go, and that could change.
Absolutely. It's if you've got a good car at the start, you hope it's good at the end as well. Of course, it can change a lot sometimes, especially with tyre degradation. Sometimes when you've got a car set up to be quite sticky like this, when the tyres get worn, it can affect it more so.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, bit of a moment there for Chris Purnell going up the hill.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all four-wheel sliding there in Purnell. He's going to have no speed coming out of here. This is going to give Hayden Dodson a very good chance of getting a little bit of a run here.
And there he goes. I would say Chris's tyres are starting to heat up a little bit. He's very well to hold on to that, although he's still got the inside line here. So
it's still a fight. It's going to be a bit of a... He's got him.
Ooh, bit of a touch there.
Yeah.
And that was someone off to the left there as well, but we'll keep following these guys because this is where it's all happening. And Chris is coming back at him, but I don't know that he has a lot for him at the moment, and it actually looks like Bruce Smith might have Chris as well, but looks like he might have a little bit of damage on the front right-hand side. Yeah,
it does look like there was a bit of damage on there. Hopefully it's not too much.
Slight touch there with Bruce as well. It could be enough to slow him right down, unfortunately.
Absolutely. It's going to start affecting the car. If there's any sort of suspension damage or anything like that, it's going to be dramatic around the road course. It's going to cause really big problems going through the S's.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it's just a matter of getting his composure back and fighting back, or whether that panel damage is slowing him down now. Although he's still hanging on to Bruce okay, so
just missed the wall there as well. That was a very close moment. It's a change of race trousers, I think.
Could be right. Wouldn't like to be cleaning that seat after this race, that's for sure.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Meanwhile, Ashley Lear continues to, I wouldn't say cruise up at the front, but
pulling out a good gap though.
He is, and I think we'll see over the next couple of laps whether Hayden Dogman's got anything extra to start catching him in a little bit of clean air.
Absolutely. Hayden Dogman does look like he's got a very good car at the moment, but is it as good as Lear's? Because Lear seems to have the car of the track at the moment.
It does.
So it does look like Dogman has started catching. Lear just lost about 0.2 of a second there in that lap.
Yeah, but he doesn't appear to be pushing too hard, which is good. So he seems to have it well under control. He's keeping the car nice and straight, and he doesn't seem to be fighting the car either. So as Hayden Dogman's pushing harder and harder and harder to catch him, and he's had to fight through those other few cars in the first 10 laps or so. I think Ashley's probably in a better spot here with at least tyre wear and things like that at the moment. I think he might have the stronger car at present.
Absolutely. Being in the dirty air will not help your tyres either.
No. These two are, well, Hayden's closed up on Ashley, and the other two have dropped back slightly, so I think that's answered our question about Chris Purnell. Looks like his damage might be slowing him down slightly, and Bruce Smith might have actually, maybe he's just easing off just to conserve. We'll see.
It can be a good idea just to conserve the tyres right now at this stage of the race. If you can get them to last a little bit longer, sometimes you can just get it to ease out a little bit more, just eke out that sort of pit stop time. Gives you more opportunity for pit stops as well.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously you want to take on as little fuel as you have to, but fuel saving is not so easy in a track like this and this kind of racing.
No. One of the big things with Sonoma is it's more about throttle control than braking. You're sort of feathering the throttle a lot, you're sort of getting half throttles, and you need to use the throttle through the corners as well. And that can sometimes you put the fuel consumption up quite a bit. It is very hard to lift and coast in a track like this.
Oh, it is, and you can't afford to lift and coast too much either, or someone's on you as well.
Absolutely, it's a very close field at the moment too. Everybody seems to be relatively close to each other. We have had a few people drop out by the looks of it.
And we've also already got some black traffic there. We just saw them going past Nicholas Walsh. Had a bit of an incident earlier, I think, didn't he?
Yes, I believe so. I didn't quite catch it. I think he was involved with the spin at the chicane.
The hairpin.
Yeah. Chicane hairpin, that's what I was looking for.
It's easy to get him confused, isn't it? They're both slow.
They are, and Dogman's got a great run here on Lear.
Yeah, we've had a change to the lead. Hayden Dogman's in the lead. Well done.
Absolutely brilliant driving there. And I do expect Dogman to actually start pulling out quite a good lead now.
I would agree. Hayden's just strong everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's oval or road. He just, very, very strong. So, and he's one of the more experienced road guys in this series as well. So, I think he might be all she wrote. But again, we've got a long way to go. It's only lap 12:45. So,
absolutely, the race is not over until you cross that checkered flag.
Indeed.
As Mo Wilkie used to say, anything can happen, and it usually does. So
correct.
We have to keep our eyes on this one.
So I'm starting to wonder if Ashley Lear hasn't used up his tyres a little bit earlier on. I wouldn't have thought that. It didn't look like he was pushing too hard, but he seems to be losing ground now to Bruce Smith as well, who's really closing up behind him. He's not losing a lot of ground to Hayden, though, is he?
No, he's not, but it does look like the car is a little bit loose at the front from a couple of turns I've seen. It just looks like it's sliding a little bit at the front. It looks like front end grip has gone away from Lear.
The other thing that is affecting how some of these guys do this is their steering ratio too. I was talking to some of them earlier, and some of them were going for a much wider steering ratio. Some had a very fine one, like 8-1, but others were putting it out to 12 and 14 to try to stop the twitching.
And we just had a big off there, and that has meant that Brunswick has managed to get through. The caliber 15 is through.
Oh, that was unfortunate. He's had such a good run up to now, and it just seems to be all going wrong for him those last couple of laps, doesn't it, for Ashley Lee?
It does. It looks like the front tyres have possibly gone off. Maybe over pushing. Maybe he's got the car set up so it's very quick at the beginning of a stint, and it just falls away at the end of the stint.
Yeah, there's not a lot they can change in this setup, in this series. You've only got a few bits and pieces you can move. So, like a little bit of brake bias movement, steering ratio movement, and a couple of other small items. Otherwise, they're all running the same. So it's it all comes down to basically the driver, I think, and how they set those little fine points up to suit themselves.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. If you get it set up, even the small minor setups, and your driving style, of course, if your driving style has that little bit more aggression in the front, it can really affect you on a course like this, because if you start taking away the front grip of the tyres, you're going to start getting oversteer.
Absolutely.
And it does look like Ashley Lee is suffering from oversteer at the moment, from what I've seen on the track. They're currently on board. And as you can see, coming through these S's, it is a very, very tricky part of the track. One of the biggest problems is there is actually a couple of nasty bumps in braking zones here. So especially coming into the hairpin, you have to be really careful, because there are a couple of nasty little bumps around there, and it can cause you to make brakes quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the tyres start to go off too, they also you start pinching brakes here and there, and yeah, it just makes it very hard combined, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Once you start pinching the brake, as soon as you get that one lock up, it will keep locking at the same spot every time as well. So it does look like Dogman's actually pulling out quite a good lead at the moment. Smith is managing to keep relatively good pace. Ashley Lee has dropped off quite a bit now, almost 2.5 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, and I'm just having a look back here to see whether Chris Purnell's still lurking back there. It appears he is. He's dropped off a bit, but he's a fair way back though, so at the moment Ashley seems to be okay if he can just keep it smooth and straight, I guess. The other thing too is when are they going to come into pit? That's going to be the big question. What kind of feel are they getting into the cars, and are some of them going to break the race into 3 parts or 2 parts based on tyres? It's going to be interesting to see who plays their cards early.
Very much so, and of course most of them are of course waiting for something to happen to try and get a caution period or something like that.
Although, being a road course, I'm pretty sure you'll find that it's only local yellows, not full course, but which kind of takes away some of that possibility of a field close-up if there's anything happen.
Absolutely, yes. You want a full course, basically. It does look like, I'm not sure if that's damage on car 12. Just the front panel looked a little bit off from my viewing.
Yep.
So it does look like people have been having a few scrapes and scraps with each other, and possibly the walls as well.
Yeah, the problem is as the field spreads out, it's harder to notice any individual incidents around the track. We'll try to keep up with them if we can, but it can be quite difficult to see any individual moments. Yeah, you're right, front right-hand side, so that's Kyle Sloggett. So I'd say that he's had an incident somewhere along the line.
May have touched somebody in the back somewhere, or possibly just run a little bit wide and nudged one of the walls. Although right-hand side is a little bit harder to do on this track, unless you're coming out the final turn and you just don't make it quite right.
So we've got an interesting battle developing here between James Foster and Jason Martin. Looks like they're both carrying a little bit of damage from a couple of bumps maybe, but it's interesting to see Jason come through, and we kind of figured he might, but we weren't sure how long it would take him, and at the moment he's closing in on James.
Has somebody just gone off there? Didn't catch who it was, unfortunately. There was a green car going off just as we went past that section.
So we might have a replay happening here.
Okay. It's car 62.
Yeah, better go door to that. That all looks fairly harmless.
Yep, that wasn't what I saw, so yeah, that's definitely not what I think it was.
No, I thought I caught something at the corner of my eye as well, Carl, so you're not the only one.
That's good. Maybe we started with mass hallucinations. We've got to that stage of the race.
So it looks like pit stops have started. We have Matt Clute coming in. So lap 18 of 45. I wouldn't have expected anyone to come in until probably around lap 23 or 24. But so Matt Clute's in now, and we'll see if a few others start to follow.
Yeah, he may be just hoping to get sort of a slight advantage with fresher tyres, see if they can get a small advantage over the cars that he was following, basically. Get some clean air, get some good running, maybe jump a couple of people with this pit stop. Of course, the problem is he's going to have more fuel on board now, so it does depend how much of an advantage tyres are going to make on this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was saying earlier, some were talking about splitting it into 3 parts, but it doesn't look like too many have done that, although Matt could be the exception to the rule.
Absolutely, and historically Sonoma, less stops tend to be better for you. If you can get the tyres lasting, you're going to do better. It's a sort of track you really want to keep the tyres going on as long as possible, because it really can hurt you with that times, with the pit stop times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe it's worthwhile going through the top 10 right now to give everyone an idea where everyone is before too many of the stops start. So we still have Hayden Dobbin out front now. Bruce Smith chasing him down. He's about 0.6 of a second behind him. Ashley Lee is still hanging in there in third. Chris Purnell is also just hanging back there in fourth. Kyle Sloggett in fifth. Then we have James Foster, Jason Martin, Edward Foster, and Joshua Carroll Walden in ninth. And Jackson Callow following home in 10th there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Matt Clute has dropped down to 16th after that stop, but obviously everyone else still has to make theirs as well.
Looks like James Foster is having a bit of trouble here, car number 14. Not sure if there was a lapped car just there, or if he was just having a little bit of troubles with a car in front of him for a moment.
Okay, so James is just coming into the pits by the looks of it.
Okay. Maybe his tyres were starting to go.
So for anyone watching, I'll just apologise a little bit. I'm watching off live off iRacing as well as the stream, and there is a slight delay on the stream, so I do tend to see things a little bit quicker than everybody else. So just in case you were wondering how I knew that.
And I'm watching off the stream, so I'm a sort of current person. Okay, looks like we're getting quite a few people into the pits at the moment now.
Yeah, it looks like now's about the time that everyone's coming in, which is interesting. I would assume it's for tyres, not so much fuel, but I'm happy to be corrected if that's not the case. I'm not entirely certain what the fuel burn was at the track, so...
Yeah, it would be good to know that one. Of course, if they can make it... If they can edge out another 5 laps on the fuel, they could make it to the end theoretically. But you're going to lose time with that. You're going to have to really drive very cautiously. So it looks like this will probably be a 2-stop race. Maybe with just a small splash and dash at the end of the race.
And just like magic, 1.8 to 1.9 litres per lap is the fuel burn.
Useful information is useful.
So one would have to assume that they're coming in for tyres and they're going to run the last 25 laps straight, so...
Yeah, it could be a bit hard for some people. It did look like a fair few people were starting to struggle with their tyres after even about 19, sort of 18 laps. So pushing it to 25 may be a bit of a struggle, but if somebody can actually do it, they could really make up some places and could possibly get a win out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're talking about at the start, was, you know, all about survival, nursing the car and making sure you can get through.
That's it. To finish first you have to finish, and that is the important part, especially on this track.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, our leader's just coming up to some lap traffic at the moment. Always a dangerous thing as well around this track. If you catch a lapped car on the wrong spot, you can have some real big problems.
Yeah, and it all depends too on where they're at with their car as well. It just looks like there's a few fairly tired cars looking out there.
Yeah, a couple of cars are looking like they won't get a good second-hand resale value at the moment.
No, I'd agree with you on that. So I'm just trying to work out what sort of lead he has at the moment. Yeah, Hayden's got about 7.5 seconds over Chris Purnell, who's managed to get in front of Bruce Smith. I didn't see Bruce come into the pits. I may have missed that.
It looks like he must have pitted, so Purnell's managed to stay out a little bit longer, obviously. It looks like, last time I looked up, it looked like Hayden Dogman had about a 10-second lead, maybe about 5 to 10 second lead over Bruce Smith.
Okay, well, Hayden's coming to the pits now. So Hayden is pitting now.
Okay, and car number 15 now has had a big crunch on the front of it by the looks of it.
That's Bruce Smith, yeah?
Yes, that is. He's had a bit of a crash. That's why he's lost that time, obviously. He's had a bit of a crunch.
Yeah.
I do wonder where that's happened. That is really unfortunate for Bruce Smith, who was running really well this race. But he's had a heavy crash on the front of the car. So it looks like he's probably gone into the back of somebody.
Oh, well, just watching this, I think Bruce is coming through now. There he is. And Hayden comes out of the pits right beside him. This could get interesting.
Has Bruce pitted yet?
You know what? I don't think he has.
Yeah, I think he's lost a lot of time just because of the damage he's received. It does look like he's got a bit of a crunched front of the car. So I do wonder if that's where he's lost the time.
Could well be. Well, Hayden's got fresh tyres, obviously, so shouldn't take him too long.
Absolutely, shouldn't be too hard to get past him. It is going to cost him time, though. It does look like Bruce Smith is going a bit slower.
Yeah, it does. And I'm guessing Bruce will have to come in at some point soon. I'm curious to see how he can hold off Hayden on very fresh tyres.
It'd be interesting to see how much that damage is affecting him as well. Maybe he's had a bit of an off, and that's why he's had the damage and lost the time.
Could be.
Unseen, unfortunately, but I see a bit of a fight coming up now.
Yeah, well, our effective race leader was Chris Purnell. He's just pitted, so I would say that Hayden and Bruce have gone through on him by now. we're just going to have to wait until this cyclist stops us over, Carl, and see how it all shakes out.
Absolutely. Always the fun part of the racing is just checking out what's happening after stops, because it goes crazy with that.
Yeah, it's the order's well and truly mixed up right now, so...
looks like Hayden's got a good run here. Bruce is just giving a good bit of width on the outside. Nice overtake, and he's got past without too much hassle. Yeah,
I think you find that Bruce didn't really have a lot for him there, and he gave him a bit of space because he knew he just couldn't fight him. And look, already Hayden's just taking off. So
yeah, you can see how much he was slowing him down there. He's pulling out a fair decent gap right now.
Yeah, you'd have to expect Bruce will come in soon.
I do wonder if Bruce is going to try and run the car as long as possible, just so he can do maybe a one-stop. He's banking on everybody else two-stopping now.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a long shot. If it was me, I'd be coming in now because he's obviously losing time. Hayden's got ahead of him now. He's on fresh tyres. Yeah, he's only going to lose more time if the other guys don't two-stop.
Completely agree.
So we have a look back. Just trying to see where Ashley Lear's ended up here. Stops. He's back in third still, so it looks like the order's starting to re-establish itself again with Hayden Dodman, Bruce Smith, Ashley Lear and Chris Purnell, with James Foster in fifth and Jason Martin in sixth. So he's a quiet achiever here, Jason Martin. He's quietly working his way through the field.
And that's what you want to do on a road course. Is if you can be unnoticed and do it quietly, it's a good thing. And when you get noticed, it's usually for the wrong reasons, unfortunately.
True enough. But obviously, our fascination with Jason Martin is there because he's battling with Hayden for the lead of the championship. But I've got to come back to it. Matt Klute's only another few points behind them in the championship as well. So he's back down in 10th, I think it is at the moment, after some of the pit stops.
It's not a bad position to be in. 10th is not bad at all here. Just needs to start working his way back up through the field. There is a bit of a gap working out for the cars.
Yeah, I'm just having a look back now at Matt, and the car looks fairly clean, so if he can get some consistent laps in, should be okay. So we're watching Chris Purnell at the moment.
And he's fed back in fourth place at the moment. Looks like the car's got a little bit of damage on her on the right-hand side again.
Yeah, well, he just made his stop a couple of laps ago, so okay, now we've gone over to Matt Klute. Matt's in 10th. The car looks a lot cleaner than pretty much everyone else is out there, so that could bode well later.
Absolutely. It looks like he's kept out of the trouble, which is a good thing.
Well, we've still got 19 laps to go, and it's a long race, 45 laps here, and anything can and will go wrong, unfortunately. So let's hope Matt can keep it clean and just get a good result. Pick up some good.
That's it. And being a long race as well, and a pretty tricky race as well. There's a lot of mental fatigue that goes on during this race, and towards the end of the race, you're going to start to see people possibly losing on it a little bit more, having a bit of trouble. Just because that mental fatigue sets in, you get into a pattern, and then all of a sudden, if something takes you out of that pattern, you do have trouble. So it's very important to get the rhythm of the race going, but don't get stuck in that rhythm.
Yeah, very true. And right now we're watching Jason Martin as he comes up over the crest of the elevation change there, down towards the chute. And he seems to be driving fairly smooth and clean at the moment, so...
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone seems to be doing a very good job at the moment. There doesn't seem to be too much action on the track for incidents, which is always what we're going to see.
Yeah. Look, I mean, this track has the potential to throw up lots or very little, either boring or very exciting, and so far we seem to have something in between, and at the moment, I think we're watching Josh Micklemore. Josh is another very well-known pace setter in this series, usually, so good to see him up there in 7th, doing quite well. Good bag of points for him if he stays there. He's got Kyle Sloggett all over him.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got a good battle coming up here. You want to keep holding that place because, of course, points are important. It does look like car number 12, Kyle Sloggett, has got a bit of a better drive out the corner, though. He's got a bit more speed on the number 2 car, for sure.
He does, and again, Kyle's another well-known name amongst the series, and I'm just watching their lines. They've got very different lines in how they approach this, and if you look back through the field, you'll see that there are several different lines that drivers are taking at the moment. So
yes,
maybe
and looks like we're going down inside into the
going down into the chute there, braking zone. Yeah, that was very well executed. That actually very clean.
Absolutely beautiful move there.
Yeah, Josh gave him plenty of room, but Kyle set him up nicely and didn't pinch him, which was good.
Good driving by both of them there. Obviously, car number 12, Kyle Sloggett, has got more speed. He just did a brilliant job keeping him behind him for so long, obviously. As you can see, he's put out a fair gap now.
I was about to say, it's that gap's opening up very quickly, though, isn't it? He was clearly holding Kyle up.
And now we have Edward Foster coming up behind him at a reasonable pace as well.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if Josh hasn't got a small problem, be it tyres or something else we don't know about there, because he seems to be dropping back a bit.
Again, if you stop with everyone else, he should only be on a 9-lap stint so far for the tyres, so hopefully they shouldn't be causing too much trouble.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to see here where Josh might have pitted earlier, and I'm wondering if he hasn't gone the whole way without a pit stop yet, you know?
If he has, he's sitting in a pretty, well, he could be sitting in a pretty decent position if everybody else has to stop another time.
Yeah. Might watch that one a little bit later and see where he winds up.
Looks like car number 32 has pulled over to the side of the track.
Yeah, I can't see that one.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see who it was actually that pulled over just there. I was wondering if they were just letting him pass for lap traffic or if they actually had a problem.
Yeah, the lap traffic, actually, that's an interesting point. They've actually been quite courteous today, which is good to see. And we have a nice little battle going here with Edward Foster and Josh Micklemore, don't we? It's Edward going to have a crack at him, and he is.
He is up the inside. This is a really dangerous point to go in, but it looks like Carl's just letting him have an easy run through there. He could have been a very harsh driver and cut him off there. Good driving there by both drivers. Very courteous letting him through though.
Absolutely, and the other issue there when you come up there, if you're the inside car and you just touch that inside right curb, it can actually throw you across, and luckily everyone was smart enough to stay well off it.
The cars here are very high and they can cause a lot of problems. If you do tend to hit the curves a lot here as well, of course, you know, it can really throw the car around quite a lot, and it will cause a lot more tyre degradation too.
Absolutely, and as we said earlier on, they just don't like the curbs either, right? They really just don't. Not here anyway.
No, this current generation of car is a bit finicky for road courses from what I hear from people. It's a bit of a pig to drive around sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't help on a track like Sonoma that's notoriously slippery either.
Because these stock cars, you know, they are designed for road and oval tracks, but predominantly they're better on ovals generally, easier drive. The downforce effects on the track like Sonoma don't come into effect quite as much just because of the slightly slower speeds, and it can cause a lot of problems because you have to rely more on mechanical grip.
Absolutely. So we're having a look here at Danny G. he's doing very well. He started 23rd and he's up to 14th right now, so that's quite impressive. It's been a quiet, solid run for Danny, hasn't it?
That was actually a great run.
Looks like he hasn't been in too many skirmishes and he's just quietly working his way through.
It's not impossible to win from the back at this track. It's hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, it only takes a few little issues for the guys up front, doesn't it? I think, looking here, Danny's actually the last one on the lead lap too, so I'm guessing he wants to hang on to that.
Yeah, hold on to that for your dear life.
So, going back to the front, Hayden looks quite comfortable out there in the lead. Bruce is about 2.1 seconds behind him at the moment, but it seems to be holding steady. Ashley Lee is there in third.
Bruce is holding it really well, especially, as I said, it does look like he's got quite a lot of front damage to the car. Obviously it's not affecting the car too much.
No, he doesn't seem to be pulling him in, but he's holding station, which really is all he needs to do for now. And bit closer to the end, start to wind it up. Although we are at lap 32 or 45, so if he's gonna start thinking about making moves, he needs to close that gap up a little bit to have any chance at all, doesn't he?
Very much so. You really need to start pushing now if you want to get that win. He might just not have the car for it now. With that damage, he might just have the car that he can't push any faster in. Could be going to the limit right now just to keep that second place.
Yeah, well, he's only got 13 laps to do it, including the one they're on. So there's not a lot left. So Chris Purnell back there in fourth in car 920. A little bit battle scarred, but he's hanging in there. And Chris is 10th in the championship currently, and from what I understand, not too happy about that. He's had a bit of a bad run, but fourth will yield him a few good points, I guess.
Hopefully, yeah, that will definitely make up for it. It's a good point at all being in fourth place. Of course, it's better to be higher, but fourth is nothing to complain about.
No, it's not. And back in fifth is James Foster in car 14. Again, a little bit battle weary, but looks like he's fairly solidly there.
It does look like the field has spread out a little bit over this time. There still are quite a couple of little battles on the track.
Yeah, it looks like James has eked out a bit of a gap over Jason Martin now. It's, what's that? That's about 6 seconds by the looks of it. So very, very much spread out now, I think.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what happened to Ashley Lear. Just where the pace went from that car, because it seemed like it was really on it for the first 10 laps or so, and then it's just dropped off.
Having said that, though, I'm looking here, and he's actually not doing too bad a lap time to car. He's actually very consistent. Extremely consistent, in fact, within a few tenths. He's in the mid 118s, which is fairly comparable to everybody else. At the moment, he's got it back and he's consistent, but unfortunately, he's lost track position, hasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a real shame because he had a really good start and he's had a really good time in qualifying as well.
Well, he's got a 4-second gap up to Bruce Smith, so he's got a little bit to make up, but
see if he can claw it back. At the moment, it's looking like most people are just in sort of tyre preservation mode, really. It's just trying to get the car to the end of the race now.
Yeah, well, the top three guys are lapping fairly consistently the same in the mid 118s, so it's going to take something special for someone to bridge that gap, I think, because everyone else has dropped down into the 119s and 120s now. So it's the battle of the top three by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's turned into a three-horse race.
Absolutely.
But of course, saying that, now something random would happen, like and is that lapped car just there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave's car.
Daniel gets it. Dan Grozowski in the car 24 is just letting them pass by the looks of it.
Yeah. So he's starting to chip through those that are left on the lead lap now. So because Dan and Dave were the last cars on the lead lap. So next stop, Josh Michelmore.
Yeah, so he's lapped everybody up to 12th.
He has.
So an absolutely brilliant run there. He's driving the wheels off that car. Really doing a great job at this track.
Yeah, he's not leaving much for anybody else, is he?
No, he's got the car of the day, it looks like. It just looks like a really drivable car as well at the moment. His style must really suit it just down to the ground.
Yeah, ooh, Bruce Smith having a bit of a moment there, coming down into the chute with lap cars. I think it was Danny G's car. Looks a little bit ugly, yeah.
I don't know if that's more damage than he had before, or if that's the same amount. He's had a bit of a crumpled front end for the latter half of this race.
It's going to be a bit hard to tell the difference, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Hopefully he doesn't get any more damage.
No, I don't think they really touched that. I think it was just Danny just got a little bit up onto the curb, got a bit loose, and Bruce just closed on him too quick, that's all. Just a loss of momentum from Danny's car, nearly caught him out.
Always a scary moment.
Oh, absolutely, especially there.
So, Brunswick's doing a great job, obviously. I can't even say how much damage is done, but there is definitely damage to that car. And just keeping pace as well, it's just a really fantastic drive.
Oh, absolutely. It's clearly not holding him up too much. He just doesn't seem to have that extra pace to catch up to Hayden. I mean, Hayden's pulling that out by about half a second to 3/4 of a second a lap, that lead. So, obviously, lap traffic played a part in that too just then. But I think Hayden's just really, to be honest with you, just out there controlling the gap now, I would say.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need to push anymore. He can just keep the car stable, doesn't need to push it at all.
Well, he's in the last several laps of this one, so he doesn't really have to go out there and do anything silly now. He just has to hold that gap, keep it clean, and bring it home.
So Dave Douglas saying the car number 10 was just having a little bit of a moment, just going into the chute.
Yeah, it looked a little bit ugly, didn't it?
Not the best line through that corner.
I think he was a bit lucky to get away with that one personally, but he did, so that's all that matters.
Hey, any landing you can walk away from is a landing.
Absolutely. So we're watching Ashley Lear again. He was our pole sitter back in third. He's around 6 seconds behind Bruce Smith now, so that's also starting to stretch out a bit as well. Although he's got 18 seconds on fourth place, being Chris Pennell, so I guess he's not in danger of anything, but around lap traffic can always get your attention sometimes.
Absolutely, you can lose quite a lot of time in lap traffic. I don't think he's going to lose the time that's needed to fall back to fourth place, but it does really affect you, and you can gain time as well sometimes. If you're very lucky, the car ahead can have a really bad time, and you can have a very good time.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw that before with Hayden Dobber, didn't we, and Bruce Smith, where Hayden got on a better run than Bruce, and Bruce lost a couple of seconds out of it, so...
Absolutely.
Swings and roundabouts.
That's it. It's sometimes it's luck of the draw, sometimes it will come in your favour.
And sometimes it doesn't.
Does look like somebody had a little bit of an off there. There was a bit of gravel flying in the air.
So I'm just trying to go back through the field here and just have a bit of a look through and see who's where. Right now we're watching Matt Kloop. He's worked his way into 8th, started 6th, so he's dropped back a couple of positions off his starting position, but the car's clean and he's still in for a good points haul. So interesting line through there too, through the back of the chute. I think he outbraked himself there a bit.
Yeah, I don't think that was his best line. Probably going to cost him a little bit more time there.
It's almost like the curse of the commentator, isn't it? You start talking about somebody and they make a mistake.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. That's how you get people you don't want to win a race out.
Well, he's not someone I want to curse anyway, because obviously I'm part of his team, his and Chris's team, so Alliance Motorsport. So yeah, I think I might.
Just don't talk about them. Just ignore it.
Yeah, I don't want teammates ganging up on me. Thanks. But no, Matt's doing well. He won't be happy with 8th at the moment, but again, car's clean, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a sort of longer haul race, really. People have been using a little bit more strategy at the tyres there. Somebody's gone off around the hairpin by the looks of it as well. Didn't quite catch who that was, but it just went off in front of the leader.
Just having a look now to see if I can follow.
Yeah, got a feeling it was car 46.
No, car 62.
Okie dokie.
Just had a bit of a lazy lose mid-corner and got off the track just before Hayden got to him, thankfully.
That is it. You can have somebody lapse in concentration when you're lapping them, go into the side of them, and that's your race ruined. It's so easy to lose out while you're lapping cars.
Oh, it is, and it's kind of one of those things that you hope luck's on your side. When someone does have a lazy lose, that you're not just going to the side of it. But in that instance, he got out of the way quickly, and that was a good result. That was Mirko Dortinac.
It's always good if you don't crash. That's the main thing.
Oh, absolutely. So we're down to the last 5 laps of this one. It's I won't say it's been an exciting race, but I won't say it's been a boring race either. It's kind of had a bit of everything in it. Thankfully, there hasn't been any major incidents or any big dramas for anybody, but we've had a few retirements here and there, but generally speaking, everyone's kept it reasonably clean, haven't they?
They have, yeah. There's been a couple of little love taps here and there. There's a couple of dents on a few cars, but there's nothing major for sure. It's been a bit of a race of just keeping the tyres correct. I think a lot of people have been working on keeping their tyres not wearing out too much, and I do get the feeling we're going to start seeing people having a lot more trouble at the end of this race. These next 12 laps are going to be crucial. If you've managed to keep those tyres sort of in good condition, you're going to be okay. But by the looks of it, people were struggling about lap 19, so they're going to start struggling again now. Maybe around lap 43, we might start seeing people having a lot more trouble. We may get a couple of offs.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I'm not sure what sort of fuel strategies and those sort of things they've run either, so it'll be interesting to see. But just going through, having a look and seeing who's still here and who's not. It appears as though we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 retirements, which isn't too bad really considering. We had a 26 car field, so we've still got 20 cars out there.
That's very good.
Yeah, and it's a track that can catch you out quite easily and does tend to cause a bit of grief. So that's actually a pretty good, pretty clean, good finishing.
It's very clean race. We can definitely say it's been a clean race.
Yeah.
As clean as it can be at Sonoma.
Yeah. So Hayden looks like he's out on his own race right now, as we watch Jason Martin come through for 4 laps to go now.
It's going to start helping some of the lapped cars maybe, just being that they have one less lap to run. If their tyres are indeed starting to go off and people are having trouble, people who are lapped, maybe it can be an advantage and a disadvantage.
Yeah, look, I mean, the guys are into their 21st lap now, mostly on these tyres, so they can't have a lot left under them, but lap times haven't dropped off that significantly. They have a little bit, but yeah, they still seem to be doing all right.
Yeah, nobody's looking too squirrely out there for sure, so that is good. It looks like might be getting a little bit of a fight here with car number 54.
Yeah, Matt Clue closing up on Edward Foster.
Yes.
there's not many battles going on out there at the moment. They're fairly well spaced out, so we might keep an eye on that one and see if Matt can make something of that in the last few laps. There's 3 laps to go, and
it does look like he's gaining. Just nicked one of the cones there. Poor cone. You will be missed.
That's a bit of a sport here at Sonoma, isn't it? Hit those cones and hit it.
And here we are on board.
So I guess with 3 laps to go, Edward won't be wanting to give up space too quick, but...
no, it does look like he's having it does look like he's having a bit of trouble holding that car together. It doesn't look like it's going to stick to the road.
No, it's... Matt doesn't look to be doing it. Oh, having said that, I'm just going to shut up. I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah, we better not speak. Every time we say something, there's something happening for sure. But yeah, it does look like Matt Clute's actually got a better car underneath him at this time. His tyres maybe just a little bit fresher, possibly. Does depend when people stop. He could have stopped a lap later, maybe.
But it does look like Matt, we saw it before too, he's struggling in that right-hander at the end of the chute, coming back on down through the flip-flops here, and yeah, I don't know, so you can see there Edwards pulled out a gap again, so...
Yeah, it does look like Edwards better through the sort of last half of the track, and Matt's better through the sort of front half of the track.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. Don't know that he's got much left. There's only 2 laps to go now, so I don't know that Matt's got enough for him. But anyway,
might be a last lap done. Lunge down the inside of the hairpin.
Could well be. So now we're watching Hayden on his last couple of laps. He's got a nice little gap going back to Bruce Smith. It's nearly 4 seconds now. It's about 3.84 seconds.
He can just afford almost a cruise right now. Doesn't need to really push that hard. He's in just the perfect position, the way you want to be really on this track.
Yeah, look, he's got a nice gap back to Bruce, and then there's another 7 seconds again back to Ashley, who's now in 3rd, and another 20 seconds back to Chris Purnell. And then James Foster is in 5th, so yeah, I think we're watching our finishing order. We're on the final lap now, as we watch Hayden come through the hairpin. Sorry, not the hairpin, down the back, off the chute.
It's always easy to get the wrong corner.
It is, especially when you're looking at 2 different screens and you're constantly flicking your eyes back and they're in different places. It's an interesting experience, let me tell you.
Yes, it does make it a bit trickier. You see, you're quicker on the old cheat sheet for the driver's names and stuff, because I'm now like scribbling around looking at it on my second monitor trying to find out who's who.
It's all good. So.
Never find them.
But here comes Hayden, comes through to take the win. So that'll be 2 apiece in the series now for Hayden and Jason, so that'll be interesting. Hayden will extend his points lead.
Yeah, definitely.
Bruce Smith will come through in 2nd, I would say. Can't think that anything would have happened to Bruce.
Ashley Lear, unfortunate.
Yeah, Ashley Lear would come through for 3rd. Chris Purnell for 4th.
And are we going to see that lunge down the inside? We still have a bit of a fight coming on. It's not much, but it's a little bit of a fight here.
Yeah, this is for 7th and 8th.
Does definitely look like Matt Clute's catching. He's trying his best. Here comes that lunge, and he's knocked it a little bit. And looks like Edward Foster has got that one. He's got that in the bag.
Yeah, he'll hang on for 7th, and Matt Clute will be 8th. And in 9th should be Daniel Stevens, and rounding out the 10 will be Joshua Carroll Walden. So congratulations to Hayden Dodman.
Absolutely. Sorry, whereabouts did Jason Martin finish?
Jason Martin finished in 6th, so he made up 1 place off his grid spot, which is still a good points haul for Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. He managed to keep the points up for sure.
So I'm sure we'll see Hayden start to do his burnouts any time now. The traditional end of race win celebration.
You've got to break that diff to make it worth it.
Yeah, and there he goes. Congratulations to Hayden.
Brilliant drive there from Hayden. Absolutely brilliant.
So it's going to make the championship very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I was just going to...
I'm just having a look now to see when the next road course is, which suits Hayden better. It's Watkins Glen in round 9. Yeah.
That's definitely going to extend Hayden's lead over Jason Martin. Matthew Clerk's going to drop, possibly below Ashley Lear.
So,
and there we have the official results. Well, unofficial results, should we say. There are still possibly steward inquiries that we have to look at.
Yeah, I'm not sure there'll be too many of those, but I guess we never really know, do we?
No, that's it.
So just to recap, first position was Hayden Dodman with a great drive. Came from 3rd and took the lead mid-race and just didn't even look like losing it, did he? Bruce Smith came home in 2nd. He started 4th, so that was a good pickup by Bruce. Ashley Lear, who was our pole sitter, came home 3rd. Chris Purnell came home 4th, followed by James Foster. Jason Martin came in 6th, followed by Edward Foster, Matt Clute, Daniel Stevens, and Joshua Carroll Walden is the 10.
Absolutely. And a very good drive from Hayden. He just was absolutely on it, and that car just looked like it was stuck to the road. It just was not moving at all. Managed the tyres really, really well.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a couple of guys in the green room, Carl, that want to have a chat. So if you like, we've got Edward Foster and Chris Purnell in there. I might pull Edward over first, and we might have a quick chat, yeah?
Absolutely.
Hello, Edward. It's Brett here.
How you going?
Very well. How are you going?
Knackered.
Knackered. You had an interesting race towards the end there, we saw, with Matt Clute.
Yeah. It was. I mean, in the first stint, obviously my qualifying was terrible as usual, and qualified behind him. But in the first stint, I seemed to have the pace on a few of the guys ahead of me. I think Clark got mixed up with a couple of guys, but after I got past him, I was able to pull away. And then after the pit stops, I was expecting the same thing, but it didn't work out that way, and he was able to close me down. So made it a bit tense there towards the end of the race for sure.
Yeah, it looked like Matt had a couple of smaller incidents early on with somebody who was carrying a little bit of damage, and once he'd done his pit stop though, he was actually quite quick and quite consistent, and he certainly put the pressure on towards the end, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely applying the blowtorch to the rear bumper there. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's why you go racing. You don't want to drive around on your own. You want to be racing with other people. It was a good race here. There were a couple of times he had a small nibble at us, but didn't do anything silly, which you kind of expect from a guy with his experience. So we're able to run nice and clean there towards the end, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to get by. So I'm quite happy to come away with a P7, especially on the track like that and cars like that. Against drivers like that. So, very pleased.
Yeah, well, Matt's fighting to keep 3rd in the championship at present too, so I guess he was pretty hungry. But that brings me to the other thing that you just mentioned then with the track. What was it like? It actually didn't look like it was too slippery out there. A lot of the cars seemed to be, early on they seemed to lose the fronts a little bit and be a little bit understeery, but overall the cars look pretty solid out there.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because we're actually on, sort of late afternoon race. It was a bit of a cooler track, so certainly not as bad as racing, with a sort of 45-degree track temperature or something where after a couple of laps your tyres are just overheated. So, obviously being a bit cooler, still really, really had to baby them, especially the rears coming out of the hairpins. There's 2 hairpins on that circuit, obviously. Coming out of there, it was definitely a bit of a practiced learned art, I suppose. Not lighting them up out of those corners. I saw a few guys started to get a bit sort of sideways coming out of there, and I did a couple of times as well. But on the whole, a lot nicer than racing on a much hotter track, that's for sure, because the place is almost undrivable like that. Well, certainly for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that goes for most people. It's a notoriously slippery track at the best of times, and from what you say about the hairpins coming off into the right-hander at the back of the chute, there seemed to be a problem for a lot of people, and obviously down into the final turn, we saw quite a few people sort of have a very lazy slide into the centre of the track there. So no, very good. So great effort, mate. Did well to hold off Maddie at the end there, and it sounds like you need to go and have a beer.
1, 2, 3 or 4, I think. Absolutely spent after that. I'm kind of not used to having all these races without caution periods to have a rest and a drink and everything else. Maybe I've gone a bit soft.
Well, that's a thing too. Yeah, it's a very good point. A lot of people are used to having periods of caution where they can just have a break and rest the feet and the arms a little bit. But not here. Yeah, we've still got Watkins Glen is another road course to come up a little bit later on the schedule. So it's a bit of practice for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Watkins Glen's got the added bonus of actually being nice to drive. Sonoma, I can't say the same. So definitely looking more forward to Watkins.
You'll have to have a talk to the season schedulers about whether it's on the schedule next season, yeah?
Well, there's got to be a good mix of tracks for everyone. I'm sure there are some people there that like it, so I can't pick it all my own way. So we'll just take what we get, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if it's anything, I've get to speak to anybody who would agree with, it's a great track. But anyway, it looked like everyone did well out there. So, yeah, thanks, Edward.
Thanks very much.
All right, Chris Purnell.
How you going?
Very well, and you seem to have an interesting race out there. You had a little bit of bad luck early on, and the car seemed to be carrying a little bit of damage.
Yeah, I turned in a little bit early at the last corner and clipped the tyre bundle on the inside and bent up the panel a bit, and just a little bit of rear end damage from a bit of bumping and running and stuff. But yeah, it was a pretty good race.
Yeah, well, you collected a fourth there. Very good points as well, so it'll keep you in the running for the top 10 there. I don't know, what was the track like out there for you? It didn't look too bad, really. Edward Foster was saying that it wasn't too bad. It wasn't what we expected.
Yeah, no, the group was there and there was pace in the car. It was just a matter of negotiating some lap traffic and just keeping your consistency there. It was quite easy to sort of make a little mistake and drop off, and then you sort of had to fight back for a couple of laps to find that pace and consistency again, and then you'd get in a rhythm and then you'd find another lap car and then you'd lose your rhythm again. So it took a bit of hard work.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the nature of road racing in Sonoma in particular. So it's one of those things. And having no cautions, as we were just talking to Edward about, would have been a little bit different for everybody. There was no respite. It just went and went and went. Yeah,
it was full on, just didn't stop. And it was enjoyable, but I had a good time. It was once I sort of lost track of the top three and sort of pulled away from James, it was sort of comfortable and I could just settle into a groove and just finish the race off.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a bad team result either for Alliance Motorsport. You had Matt Clute came home 8th, so 2 cars in the top 10. You've got to be happy with that as a team owner.
Yeah, that's it. It's just solid points and solid results again, and we'll just keep building and keep going, and hopefully that first win comes soon.
Yeah, no worries. All right, well, great to talk. And Carl, unless you've got anything you want to ask Chris?
It's just really... with the tyre wear, were you finding it to be a major issue through that whole race?
Nah, not really. Like, the fronts held on pretty well, which I was surprised about. I thought they would be the first to go. I was having issues out of the last turn, just traction, even in second gear. But other than that, it was pretty good throughout the rest of the track. I thought the curves and the S's with the load, it was going to put a bit more strain on the tyre and make it more uncontrollable, but it actually held on really nicely.
That's good to hear, yeah, because up here watching you guys, we did sort of notice a few cars were looking like they were sort of having front tyre wear problems, but it seems like everybody was just having no issues at all, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's any race where you don't have to worry about tyre management and you can just push on is always a good race. You know that you're going to get guys going for it. So yeah, it's a bit more fun than say somewhere where you go and you got to manage the tyre a lot more, and it's more about looking after your stuff. Where this was more just a pace race to see who could get to the front the fastest.
Now, last question, important question. Sonoma, do you like it as a track?
I've got a love-hate relationship with it. I actually do quite enjoy it in the NASCARs, but then when I go and get in like a GT car, I seem to have quite bad luck in it. So yeah, it's hit and miss with me.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one tick in the NASCAR box for the love of this track, so that's interesting.
All right, good. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, mate. Well done,
buddy.
James Foster, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty solid top 5 finish there. How was it? What was it like from the cockpit?
Yeah, it was good. I was really disappointed with my qualifying because I had good pace in practice. I was second in practice, and then my qualifying, I unfortunately ran wide on one of the curbs, which didn't allow that lap time, and then the second lap was just really ordinary. So I was like 1.5 seconds off of what I could have done. But looking back on the strategy that I did, doing the undercut to get past Sloggett and Martin, because I believe I got ahead of Sloggett.
You did, yeah. You actually retired in the end, so I wasn't sure whether there was some sort of incident happened there. We missed that. Yeah,
I didn't see him after I made my first stop. I just know that I was able to clear Martin by 3 seconds.
Right.
And after that, it was just a matter of maintaining position. I knew that towards the end of the race I was going to have an issue with tyres, because the first stint, I always plan to do a shorter first stint, do an undercut, and then just look after the tyres for the next 25 laps. But I think all in all, it's the best result I could have got, because on worn tyres I wasn't able to keep with the top 4 anyway. So it was really the best of a bad situation in the end.
Yeah, the top 3 pretty much cleared out from everyone early on. And they're kind of, they're about half a second or 3/4 of a second faster. So, your point's right there. But look, a top 5, can't argue with that. You started 9th. It was actually a fairly clean race for most people. Wasn't a lot of incidents. So from your point of view, you say tyre wear, was it fronts or rears or both?
A bit of both, really. I mean, the way the car was handling it just progressively got more understeer on entry, and you're obviously getting oversteer on exit. So it's just about squeezing on the throttle gently. But understeer just became more and more of an issue. You had to be really patient, because the more aggressive you were, the more the issue sort of increased. So, you had to really monitor it.
Yeah, a case of survival and patience, as you say. So, Carl.
Yeah, hey James, how are you going?
How you going, Carl?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Saw quite a few cars out there with panel damage. Did you hit any of the walls during the race or touch anything?
The only issue I had was I came up behind a few back markers and made a bit of contact there. Had a bit of contact on the opening lap, but I don't really think it slowed me down too much. My only issue really was towards the end of the race. You had Matt Danson. Basically, he was following me around for about 10 laps. And then he decided to, despite not really having the pace, I made a slight error, but he decided to dive up my inside, at which point I let him go. And then he was in front of me all over the road, ran wide, sliding around, just driving like an idiot. And then he didn't really have the pace to pull away from me, so I was just sitting there. And so I was battling a back marker and losing 2 seconds to Jason Martin, who was behind me. So, I basically told him what I thought at the end of the race. But other than that, it was pretty clean.
Yeah, 5th place is a decent finish at least. But I imagine you wanted more.
Yeah, after practice I expected more, but at the same time I think, like I said, I didn't have the pace on worn tyres, so the top 4 I wasn't going to beat anyway. So I think I finished where I would have finished even if I qualified better, so I'm happy with that. But I've really got to make the most of the road courses because I'm still not really competitive on the ovals. The road courses is obviously, as you know, sort of what I've been doing for a long time. So the ovals, I've still got a lot to learn.
Absolutely. Ovals are a bit of a thing to get used to, but once you do get hooked in, you're going to get very fast. That's the main thing for them. So hopefully we'll see you get hooked in this season and see you getting some good results on the ovals too.
Yeah, cheers, mate. I just want to thank Riley Curtis Design. They've been helping me a lot with the ovals, and it's been really good to drive for them, and I appreciate the opportunity they gave me. I just hope I can continue to bring good results, and as a team we can continue to move forward.
That's awesome. Thank you, James. I hope you have a good day.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one. See you guys.
Thanks, James. All right, well, I guess that'll about wrap it up for us. Any last words, Carl, on Sonoma?
Well, Sonoma is one of those tracks you either love or hate, it seems, and most people hate it. But it did bring an interesting race, at least.
Can I add an interesting twist to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
People generally hate things or dislike things like this because they're such a challenge. So is that a bad thing?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Sonoma is a very challenging circuit, and especially on a sort of keeping the car together and keeping the tyres and things like that alive on a track like this, it's a huge challenge, and some people just don't want that challenge. I must admit, I'm one of those people that would rather not have that challenge. I just like to have a track that's just hooked in, can enjoy it and just have fun on it. But it has brought a decent race today, and just Hayden Dogland's pace was just fantastic. That's probably my last thing I'm going to say on that one for this day.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All right. Well, I guess on that note, we'll probably look to wrap it up. Before we go, the next round is round 5 at Chicagoland on the 9th of August in 2 Thursdays' time. Hopefully we'll be good to go and be watching or streaming through Performance e-streaming. We'd love to have your company. And until next time, Carl.
Until next time, have a good day, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.